Hey, specialist, can you believe we've almost completed 2 months together? And you have shown yourself to be learners. We know that leaders are learners, and you have proven to be not just a learner, you're incredibly teachable. You have shown yourself to be disciplined because you've done your life work. You've memorized your Bible verses. You've been living in the story of the scripture, whether it was Jesus washing the disciples' feet or Jesus feeding the 5,000. You have been interviewing people and asking them questions and using your journal to capture that information. You have been not just learning, but growing, moving that information to your heart and out to others. You have already been modeling the look and serve model, where we look to God and we ask him, God, what are you up to? What are you doing around me? And then we look to ourselves and ask ourselves, do I have a heart to serve? Then when we look to others and we go, who are the others I can serve? And then at that point, we look at serve and go, how can I serve them? And then finally, we go. After we look 4 times, we go serve. And we look for others to come and serve with us. Because a great leader doesn't just serve, but they bring others along the journey. You are doing all of that. You should be crazy proud of yourself at this point. And know we have so much more we get to grow in together. So much more leadership knowledge and so many more tools we will experience together and utilize as you continue to grow into the servant leader God created you to be. I want to summarize a bit of what we've done this month. I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm in my office right now. It might look like the guest bedroom, or it might look like the kids' bonus room. It is all of the above, but it's also my office, and I write on the walls on the whiteboard all kinds of information. As we are processing and learning together, I want to be a learner. And some of the quotes that I've taken from this month, I want you to hear me say about the truth of I am humble. Because we all know, because Jesus, it says, was humble and served others before himself, I can serve others before myself. Because Jesus, the one we look at, the one we're modeling leadership around, because Jesus was humble and he served others before himself, I can serve others before myself. That is the belief we know, because we know in Philippians 2:3, we don't want to do anything only to get ahead. And don't do it because you are proud. Instead, be humble. Value others more than yourselves. What a great memory verse to have in your heart and to take out to others. Because when you see yourself trying to be in the spotlight and say, hey, look at me, you can remind yourself, oh yeah, I don't do anything only to get ahead. And don't do it because I'm proud. Instead, be humble. And I have to remind myself, Andy, be humble. Value others more than myself. And if that's why we learn these in our heart, in our mind, we take them to our heart and out to others, because we need it every day. C.S. Lewis has this quote I wrote on my board, says, humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less. So humility is not thinking less of yourself, not trying to act like you don't have any gifts, humility is not acting weak. It's not acting like you have a problem, or not acting like you have nothing to offer. Humility is just thinking of less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less. It's thinking of others more. Remember, we're always looking out, how can we serve others? Using the gifts that God has given you to do that. And then there was another quote. It's out of Proverbs 27:2. Proverbs, a verse in the Bible. Proverbs 27:2 says this: let another person praise you and not your own mouth. Let an outsider praise you and not your own lips. We don't want to just be talking about how great we think we are. We want to remember that we are valuable, which, if you remember, valuable means of great worth, means you are worth it and you are worthy and you are valuable because God says you are, not because anybody else does. We will serve others because God says we're valuable, and we want to honor God by serving others. We want to honor God by having a humble heart. That's where we're going. Remember, everything we are learning this month is building upon each other. That I am valuable. If you don't believe that you're valuable, that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, if you don't believe that God sees you as great worth, that his works are wonderful, do you know that full well, that when he created you, it was wonderful? And do you believe that with all your heart? Because when you believe that with all your heart, you can then move closer to being the leader God created you to be. And the first step we chose to take is, once we believe that truth, is that we want to be humble. We know that we're valuable because God says it. We don't have to prove it to everybody else that we're valuable, that we're wonderful, that we're amazing. You are valuable, wonderful, and amazing because God says it. Not because of what you do, not because of how you act, not because of who you serve, not because of what anybody else says, only because of what God says. And because of that, we can have a humble heart. And we can begin to serve in humility. We went through all of those leader traits about what it meant to have a humble heart. Some of those were, I have them written down here: listening to others, accepting feedback, admitting we don't know everything, able to laugh at ourselves or asking for help, asking for advice, taking the worst job, that we want to give authority to others. Leading from the back, having empathy, meaning our hearts should feel what they feel and feel with them. We want to be great listeners. Be quick to forgive and even quicker to ask for forgiveness. We want to serve with a humble heart. And that's what we're learning this month, is that true humility comes when, in light of God, we have seen ourselves to be nothing, having consented to part with and cast away self. We want to let God be all. There was a quote that I had read, and I thought it was so true, that when you serve, we want to let God be the reason we do it. Let God be all. There are a few benefits that I want to make sure you gather before we move out of this month. And some of the benefits of being humble is we build and maintain meaningful relationships. When you choose to have a humble heart, it is part of the foundation of building long-lasting, meaningful relationships. Also, it helps develop great self-esteem, because if how you feel about yourself doesn't have to come from what others say or think, but comes from what God says about you, then we can begin to serve humbly and with a full heart. It also develops self-confidence. I hope that this month you have developed great confidence in who God has created you to be. Maybe you've stepped forward in courage to interview somebody and ask them questions about what it looks like to be a humble leader. Maybe you've stepped into service roles and an opportunity to serve others because you have more confidence in who you are through learning about humble leadership. Do you know, when you're a humble leader, people want to help you? One of the things we discussed was being a humble leader means to ask for help. But do you know that people want to help someone who is a humble leader? They want to step in, and we need people. And we're going to talk soon about what it means to be a team player. We need teams to come around us to make us the best version of who we are. And also, when you're a humble leader, it opens the door for more growth. Because humble leaders are learners, and they want to keep growing as they go. We spent this month talking in John 13 about Jesus washing the disciples' feet. I hope you're still reading that every day, living in that story, because Jesus gave us an example. He said that at the end of that section we were reading, that he gave us an example to do as he did. So what we want to do is serve others in that way. It was a dirty and humiliating job, and it was the work of slaves, but it met a real need. That's what the washing of the feet did. But I want you to take these 5 things away. These are 5 things that story tells us about humble leadership. Number 1, Jesus saw a need and he moved toward it. He saw that need and he moved to meet it. Jesus knew there was a need and he wanted to meet that need of the people. In the same way, Jesus saw a need of the hungry people and of the 5,000, and he wanted to meet that need. So are you looking for the needs of others and moving to meet that need? That's what a humble leader does. They look for the needs of others and they move in that way in which we can meet that need. The second thing Jesus did is he didn't wait for an invitation. You see, he didn't sit back and say, I'm not going to help unless they ask for help today. He saw that need and he moved in a way to help. Are you looking today for ways you can serve? Remember, when the serve, after we see the others, how can we serve them? Look for how you can serve somebody and then go serve. Don't wait for that invitation. Jesus didn't wait for the invitation to wash their feet. He just moved in that direction. The third thing is he took initiative. He took it upon himself. The need was people needed their feet washed. They were about to eat dinner and he said, I'll do it. He took the initiative. He took the dirty job. He took the role of the slave, even though he's the God of the universe. He's the king. And he got down and he took that role that nobody asked him to do. Nobody forced him to do. He volunteered and said, I'll show you what it looks like to serve. And he took the initiative, meaning he stepped forward first. Will you step forward first today and serve somebody? The fourth thing that he did is he took off this greatness, this uniform of greatness. He was fully God, 100% God, 100% human. And he took off this greatness and he got down on his knees. That's humility. That means he is humble. He could have said, I am God, I am king. But he didn't. He said, I love you. And he got down on his knees and he actually lifted them up higher. Who are you serving today? Who will you lift up to be greater than you? It's hard to do that at times because we want people to look at us and think we're great. Trust that when God says you are fearfully and wonderfully made, that he sees you as great. And that's all that matters. Don't worry about what others think. Just trust that God sees you that way. You can take off that outer garment of trying to be great and allow yourself to be humble and to go and serve others. And you know what? The last thing that he did is he didn't wait for a thank you. Matter of fact, he didn't get one. He didn't wait for a thank you. He didn't announce that he was even going to do it. He didn't say, all right, everybody, just to let you know, I know that I'm God. I'm about to start serving you. I'm going to get down on my knees. I really need you to recognize that I'm serving you and that this is a big sacrifice. He didn't do that. God of the universe just did it. He took the initiative. He didn't announce what he was going to do, and he didn't do it so he would be thanked. Matter of fact, he was not thanked. He just served because that's what the God of the universe does. For the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. So will you continue to be humble in your leadership? Don't lose sight of the fact that we're valuable. Don't lose sight of the fact that we're humble leaders and we want to serve others. As we move into next month, where we trust the truth of I am courageous. You see, it'll take great courage to believe you're valuable, to serve as a humble leader. We want to gather this courage and find out what is at the heart of courage. To be brave, to move forward, to remember who God says we are. So that's where we're going next month is I am courageous. You are going to love it. I am learning so much from you, from all that we're studying, from what the Bible's telling us is truth. And before we are together next week, I would love for you to take time to refresh all your memory verses. So here's your life work. Will you go over the 3 verses? The one we did this month, Philippians 2:3. How about last month, Psalm 139:14? And then the bonus verse, Matthew 20:28. Would love for you to be able to recite, meaning stand in front and tell everybody those 3 verses this next week when we are together in Atlanta. The second thing I want you to do is continue the life work from last week. I don't want to throw more on top of you. I want you to really be intentional, thoughtful about the 5 people you want to interview. You can interview more if you like. When you're asking them about being a servant leader, remember the questions were this. You show them that list of 8 humble leadership traits. You can even use the old ones too. Show them all of them if you want. But you want to ask them then, which of these humble leadership traits is most important and why? Find out what they think is important and learn from them. Ask them why and write that down. Then ask them, are there some humble leadership traits that are not on this list? They have great wisdom and may be able to offer something we haven't thought of, and we want to learn from someone else. And the third question you want to ask is, tell me about a humble leader in your life. And we want to ask them, what did they make you feel? What did it feel like to follow them? Because we want to know how to lead others and how it makes them feel when we're humble leaders. So do those things, work on your memory verse, and keep reading John 13. We want to know that story so well that we're able to tell it at any moment, with or without our Bible open. So keep reading John 13. And even if you want, go back and read about Jesus feeding the 5,000. What a great opportunity to keep growing in our relationship with Jesus. You are valuable. You're a humble leader. And we're going to discover this next month that you are courageous. I'm so grateful for you. Man, I can't wait to see you next week. It's going to be awesome.